In this video, we will cover how to plan a Task 1 essay for IELTS Academic Writing. The first step to achieving a high score in IELTS Academic Writing Task 1 is to know how to plan your essay. This is very important, and in this video, I am going to explain why and show you how. Here we will look at the following: 3 reasons why you must plan your essay, 4 simple steps of essay planning, the 4-part essay structure, and a sample essay written step by step. Many of you may get a far lower score than you're capable of achieving simply because you either don't know how to plan the Task 1 essay or think that planning takes up time that is better spent writing the essay. Here are 3 key reasons why you should plan. Planning saves you time. If you plan your essay before you start writing, you will already know what you're going to say and won't need to keep stopping to think about the next idea. This means that you will be able to write much faster than if you don't have a plan. You only need to spend 5 minutes on the planning stage. That leaves 15 minutes to write and check your essay. Next, planning results in a more relevant answer. 25% of your marks are for task achievement. This includes identifying the main features, comparing the main features, and answering the question appropriately. Planning before you start writing will ensure that you include everything that's required in your IELTS Academic Writing Task 1 essay. Next, planning results in a better structure. Another 25% of the marks are for coherence and cohesion. This includes organizing your ideas into a logical order, having a separate paragraph for part of the essay, and linking your paragraphs appropriately. You may have done a fantastic job of identifying the main features of the graphic and found some great comparisons to write about, but you must also be able to form your ideas into a well-structured essay. Without a plan, this is difficult to achieve. Unless you have a good essay structure, you will not score highly for coherence and cohesion. Spending a few minutes planning your essay will give you a basic outline to follow as you write. This will make your task a lot easier and lead to a far better essay and a happy exam. There are 5 steps to writing a good essay for IELTS Academic Writing Task 1. Analyze the question, identify the main features, write an introduction, write an overview, and write the detailed paragraphs. We'll look at these in more detail below, but first I want to outline an easy to remember 4-part essay structure. You can use the same basic structure for all IELTS Academic Writing Task 1 questions. Ideally, your essay should have 4 paragraphs. Paragraph 1 should be the introduction, paragraph 2 the overview, paragraph 3 the first main feature, and paragraph 4 is the second main feature. You are only required to write 150 words. You won't score extra marks for writing a longer essay. It's what you write that gains you marks. With only 20 minutes allowed for the task, it's important that you don't try to include too many details. Having an essay structure to work with will help you with this. Aim for quality in your essay, not quantity. That is the right information written in a logical order. We are now ready to work through the 5-step planning process. For planning IELTS Academic Writing Task 1 essay, the first step is to analyze the question. The format of every question in IELTS Academic Writing Task 1 is the same. Here's a typical question. The highlighted words will always be the same no matter what type of question you get. The chart below shows the number of men and women in further education in Britain in 3 periods and whether they were studying full-time or part-time. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Every question consists of a brief description of the graphic, the instructions, and the graphic itself, which could be a chart, graph, or table. To find out what you have to do, you need to look at the instruction sentence. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. There are 3 things to do: select the main features, write about the main features, and compare the main features. This is the same for every question and every type of graphic. Many graphics contain a lot of information. You do not have to write about everything. Just pick out a couple of main features and you'll have plenty to write about. Next step is to identify the main features. Here's a reminder of the 7 question types: bar chart, line graph, table chart, pie chart, process diagram, maps, and multiple graphs. The key features of a graphic will usually be the easiest thing to spot. For a bar chart with a timeline known as a dynamic bar chart, look for general trends. The timeline will give you the biggest clues as to the most significant trends. Alternatively, a bar chart may be static with the data coming from one point in time. For this type of graphic, you would need to compare whatever different variables are shown. There will be lots of information in the graphic to help you spot the main features. Here are some useful questions to ask for both bar charts and line graphs. What information does the two axes give? What are the units of measurement? What can you learn from the title and any labels? What are the time periods? What is the most obvious trend? And what are the most notable similarities or differences? Two general trends in this graphic are: main feature 1 is the overall number of students in full-time education increases, and main feature 2 is the number of women studying part-time increases steadily, but for men it fluctuates. The general trends you select will be the starting point for your essay. You will then go on to add more detail. Let's look at how to do this. Here's a reminder of the 4-part structure for IELTS Academic Writing Task 1 essays. Paragraph 1 is the introduction, paragraph 2 the overview, paragraph 3 is the first main feature, and paragraph 4 the second main feature. This structure isn't going to be an exact fit for every possible essay, but it's an excellent outline to work from. Use it as a guideline and adapt it as necessary. First, the introduction. In the introduction, you should paraphrase the question, that is, say the same thing in a different way. You can do this by using synonyms and changing the sentence structure. For example, the question is, the chart below shows the number of men and women in further education in Britain in 3 periods and whether they were studying full-time or part-time. We can write our introduction as, the bar graph illustrates how many male and female students were studying full-time and part-time in Britain during the years 1970, 1980 and 1990. This is all you need to do for the introduction. Now for the overview. In the second paragraph, you should report the main features you can see in the graph, giving only general information. The details come later in the essay. You should also make any clear comparisons you spot. This is where you write about the general trends. Here are the ones we picked out above. Main feature 1 is the overall number of students in full-time education increases, and main feature 2 is the number of women studying part-time increases steadily, but for men it fluctuates. Now form these ideas into 2 or 3 sentences with a total of around 40 words. State the information simply using synonyms where possible. No elaborate vocabulary or grammar structures are required, just the appropriate words and correct verb tenses. For example, paragraph 2 is, overall, the number of students in full-time education increased over this time. With regard to part-time education, there was a steady increase in women choosing to study part-time, but for men, the level fluctuated. Now write the detailed paragraphs. Paragraphs 3 and 4 are where you include more detailed information about the data in the graph. In paragraph 3, you should give evidence to support your first main idea. In this instance, the data will be the number of students in the respective time periods. In other graphics, it might be percentages, age, monetary value, or some other unit of measurement. Don't forget to make comparisons where relevant. Here's our first main feature again. Main feature 1, the overall number of students in full-time education increases. This is an example of what you could write for paragraph 3. Between the academic periods 1970 and 1990, the figures of men studying full-time grew in steady increments, beginning at 100,000 in 1970 and rising to nearly 300,000 in 1990. For women, the numbers had also risen to around 300,000 by 1990 on an increasing trend. Notably, however, the figure for females in full-time education in 1970 was roughly half for that of men, showing a greater take-up than men between 1970 and 1980. For the fourth and final paragraph, you do the same thing for your second main feature. For example, the main feature 2 is, the number of women studying part-time increases steadily, but for men it fluctuates. Here is an example for paragraph 4. A different pattern is shown for part-time education. The graph reveals a steady increase in women engaged in part-time study, rising from 750,000 in 1970 to 1 million by 1990. For men, on the other hand, the figure fluctuated. From 1 million in 1970, they had dropped by almost 200,000 by 1980, but recovered slightly in numbers by 1990. Over the whole time period, the trend between men and women in part-time education reversed, with male students being greater in number in 1970 and female students taking pole position by 1990. Here are the 4 paragraphs brought together to create our finished essay for IELTS Academic Writing Task 1. This sample essay is well over the minimum word limit, so you can see that you don't have space to include very much detail at all. That's why it is essential to select just a couple of main features to write about. That's all the information you will need to help you plan a Task 1 essay for IELTS Academic Writing. Thanks for watching. Until next time.